Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, also writing as Jennifer K. Lambert, author of epic fantasy romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Mm, delicious. Today is Wednesday, August 12th. Um, I have 10 days left of my 50s. Not that that bothers me. It's just weird. It's weird. Last weekend, I was in Tucson visiting my mother, and I hung out with my stepsister, who we are weirdly very close to the same age. Did not become stepsisters until our 40s, even though we did go to the same high school. It's like this weird coincidental thing. But she was a year behind me in school because I'm an August baby and she's a December baby. But she is also turning 60 this year. And we were just musing on how very strange it is. And perceptions of age are so bizarre. I mean, I think partly because it's changed so much that, like what we remember our parents being like at 60 or our grandparents at 60 is not how we feel now. So there's that disconnect. But then there's also like this cultural perception disconnect where I saw someone complaining about how his father still has a landline on his wall and how what a sign of like age this is, and even though he never hasn't gotten calls on it in years, why does he keep this landline? And you're picturing this poor old man, and the guy is 54. It's like, really? So it's a funny thing. It's gratifying to me that people are always telling me that I don't look like I could be turning 60. Um, I mean, longtime listeners will recall the Botox story, uh, where I won't tell the whole story again, but the short version where a woman told me how much she admired the fact that I was successful and yet had never had Botox, which was this very weird backhanded compliment. And I was like, do I need Botox? um, but and I uh, am very grateful to all of you who tell me that uh, yeah, looking good, not that many lines. My stepsister was saying that I don't have that many lines on my face, probably because I have a little more subcutaneous fat than I should. Uh, it's a trade-off, one or the other. Um, I was telling my stepsister too, Hope, that I watched this interview, like one of these clips on Instagram, right, that comes through with Jennifer Aniston and Lisa Kudrow talking about being on Friends and what it was like being on Friends together. And it's interesting because here are two, of course, immensely successful actresses, celebrities, both still working. Jennifer Aniston, I mean, I don't claim to know what kind of work she's had done, but she looks incredible, right? She looks amazing. No lines, no sagging. Amazing, amazing. Uh, I have a lot of admiration for Jennifer Aniston. I think she's great. And Lisa Kudrow has clearly not had as much work done. You can really see it in her neck. I always think of Nora Ephron's essay/book. I can't recall the length where she said, "I feel bad about my neck," right? Because it does show. It does show on probably on everyone, but women are self-conscious about it. Um, and Lisa Kudrow has the lines and the sagging skin on her neck, and her face is not as tight as Jennifer Aniston's. I just looked it up, and Jennifer Aniston is 57, and Lisa Kudrow is 63. So a little bit of an age difference, but basically both of them on either side of me. Uh, yeah, so there we are on that stuff. I wanted to tell you all an interesting story because I know that all of you listening are not AI stands. I hope that you are not. I appreciated all the people who commented about my tirade on not feeding AI and making it starve, like not feeding the trolls. Uh, but I had seen on Facebook, I think, yeah, I think it was Facebook, a post from Bramble, Tor Bramble, my publisher, with a thing for, an illustration for, I'm being, sorry, I'm not, this is how you could tell my age, right? A meme thing. I don't think it was a trope map. It was like the vibes are immaculate and had a photo collage. So anyway, for Among the Thorns, and it was beautiful. It was really nice, and there was a tag on it for AI, and I was distressed because it's in my contract and everything. No, none of this, no generative AI. Respect the arts and artists, and so I asked my agent about it, and she went to Bramble about it. And I wanted to tell you all they were fantastic. And they said, immediately replied, they were going to check this out and research it because they are staunchly anti generative AI. They are, do not use it, Sam I am. And so it turns out that no generative AI was used to make the image, and that it was Facebook/Meta that tagged it that way, and they didn't understand why. And they took it down, and they were going to find out, and then would post it when it could be posted without this erroneous tag. And I thought, cool. I thought that's great. And I appreciated how seriously they took my concerns, and I also thought it was very interesting that it was tagged as such and was not, which I know there's a lot of this going on. Reference last week's podcast. So, yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing that I wanted to share. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is, and I hope that my thoughts are formed on this well enough. But I was thinking about one of my standard complaints about, and I guess it falls under the category of author advice. And I know I've talked about this multiple times, as it is one of my standard complaints, which is the author who thinks that they're successful because they're the shit. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And you can see this happen fairly often, where there is someone who has a wildly successful book, and they will give advice something like, well, what you need to do is write a really good book, which I think is the most odious advice that there is in the world, because it's like you're not trying to do that. Everybody is trying to do that, right? And when you're a newbie author, you don't know what a really good book is. And I mean, there's a lot of things to be said about that, and I could talk about that more if anyone's interested. But the worst part of this advice is that they act like that is the defining qualifier, that because they are the shit and they wrote a really good book, that they naturally succeeded. The cream rose to the top and the world fell at their feet. And isn't that wonderful? And it's utter bullshit. We're definitely going with that particular word today. It is. It's just, and it stinks because none of that is true. There are, many a flower has bloomed unseen, right? There are so many really good books that have gotten little to no notice that maybe never got published. I had one writing friend very early on in my first critique group who would never send out her work. She lacked the confidence. She kept thinking she would get better, and she wrote exquisite stories. Exquisite. And I don't think any of them were ever published. I don't think anyone outside of our group ever read them. There are lots of books that get published and vanish without much notice for various reasons. There are plenty of books that are not great that are very successful for various reasons. Um, but so much of it has to do with timing, with the public mood, with packaging, with price point, with what's hot at the moment. Uh, it's there are so many variables, and I'm going to boil it all down to serendipity, right? It's a little bit different than luck, right? Serendipity is what determines whether or not a book is super successful. And I'm gonna, this is a hill that I will die on. Uh, the right book talker gets a hold of it at the right moment and phrases it the right way that lights people up. There are certain things that can be done to push the popularity of something, but really it comes down to serendipity, timing, what's behind it, who's behind it. And the authors that I respect, uh, and the people who I think have something useful to offer you by way of advice, are the people who will acknowledge the role of serendipity, who will acknowledge that they were in the right place at the right time and they wrote the right thing. And for me, a really good example of this is Never the Roses, conveniently over my shoulder. Uh, Never the Roses was, and I'll tell this fast because I've told this story a lot, but was the book I was not supposed to be writing. It fell on me from out of the sky. It kind of dictated itself to me. I did not expect to write it. I thought it was weird. I thought it was going to go nowhere. It came from a place of pain. I was going through really hard things, and it came out of that place of pain, and I wrote it kind of for myself. And it hit the USA Today bestseller list and just barely missed the New York Times bestseller list, but alas. Um, and part of why it didn't hit the New York Times list was because a couple of other big fantasy romances, Harry Potter fanfic, came out that exact same day and bumped it down the list, and so it goes. I mean, that's like how these things play out, right? Uh, but And Never the Roses is a special book. I love this book. It's a wonderful book. It's done many things for me. It's different in some ways, but also it is my 73rd published title, something like that, right? And I've had other books do really well. I've had other books vanish without a ripple. And it's like, well, I'm the same writer, and I don't think that my quality varies that wildly anymore. I think it did in the beginning, but I think it just has to do with subject matter and timing and what kind of cover it gets, and the fact that Bramble published a whole bunch of copies of Never the Roses, and it was everywhere for a while. Um, Serendipity, right? And if an author gives you advice on how to get published or how to be successful, and does not acknowledge the role of serendipity, I would give them the side eye because there's so much ego going on there. And I was thinking about this again the other day because I was thinking about someone like a Jeff Bezos, I don't even know. Um, or some of these other tech bros who are positioning themselves to be the incredibly wealthy billionaire, millionaire oligarchy, right? Billionaire, I guess, oligarchy. Uh, and that they think that they are, what's the word? Say it with me. They think they are the shit, right? Because they think that they did that all by themselves. And we'll stick with Jeff Bezos as an example, that he created and built up Amazon, right? And he made it happen, and now he is a billionaire, and he ditched his starter wife, who turns out to have tons more class than he did. So, good for you, Mackenzie. Uh, and married this uh, this woman. I mean, I don't want to shame another woman, but let's say that she can't hold a candle. Put it that way. Uh, but he trots her out like a trophy, and he goes to these things and he acts like he is the shit, right? And he is not acknowledging the fact that there is a huge world of people who enabled him to be successful, right? All of those programmers, all of those brilliant programmers who worked for him, all of the people who supported him, who gave him ideas, who executed ideas, all of the people educated by our public school systems, who could drive to the Amazon offices on our roads, the fact that the US postal system was in place and existed for him to capitalize on to deliver goods, right? These are all things that Bezos did not create, but he acts like he created them, right? He acts like he is this demigod, God, who like waved his penis and brought this world into being. And it's ego. It's that same kind of ego. And so many of you know that I consider myself to be a practicing Taoist, and the Taoists all, I don't want to say all, because Taoists are individualists, right? We are all individuals. Honey. um, is the one of the credos, one of the main principles is to avoid ego. That therefore the sage hides the jewel in her heart, right? You don't put your jewels out there and dance them around for the world to see, because ego is a trap. Ego is another thing you shouldn't feed. So here we have AI and we have ego and Jeff Bezos. Don't feed any of them, or the trolls. Don't feed any of these things. Um, Feed the good dog, not the bad dog. I'm not going to put a value judgment on the black dog versus the white dog, uh, although I suppose it's a fairly well established metaphor. But yeah, choose what you want to feed, and I strongly encourage all of you to pay attention to the advice givers or the successful people who acknowledge the role of serendipity, who acknowledge their support systems, the people who help them do the things that they're trying to do, and the people who recognize that they are, well, that's just, not necessarily the shit. That there are a lot of people doing really great stuff out there, and some get luckier than others, right? And lucky now, maybe not so lucky later. Not so lucky now, maybe lucky later. Up and down, up and down. There goes the carousel of life, right? All right. On that note, I am going to get to work on Never the Roses 3. I've finished through scene 3, so I'm at like 40,000 words on this book, and it's coming along. So you all can remind me of this, that I'm happy with it right now when I hit midpoint and decide that it's a complete disaster. All right. I will talk to you all next Wednesday, and you all take care.